regardless, I'm here.
James "Buster" Douglas, the man who shocked the world in 1990 by defeating an unbeatable Mike Tyson, has now shared his thoughts on the potential clash between his former opponent and Jake Paul.
Let's go, let's go, let's go! 1,998! Woo! 1,999! Woo!
In his mind, this fight is practically decided before the bell even rings. Douglas, with a lifetime of experience and one historic knockout over Tyson to his name, believes that Iron Mike Tyson will bring an intensity that Jake Paul simply isn't ready for.
78 degrees.
Beautiful.
Douglas has spent over 30 years as the man who achieved what many thought impossible. Back in 1990, he entered the ring against Tyson as a 40-1 underdog, expected to be steamrolled like so many before him. But on that fateful night in Tokyo, he defied the odds, outclassed Tyson, and ultimately left him on the canvas.
So all of it's this. This is all twisting this for like golf. And this, everything's this.
That's how you get the power?
Yeah.
What is it that you...
With this underdog perspective, he knows better than anyone what it takes to stand against Tyson's relentless aggression, even though the former champ is now past his prime. According to Douglas, despite Tyson's age, he's more than a match for Jake Paul, and Douglas is convinced it's not even close.
People who are out there saying, we think Mike's too old for this fight. Tell them what you think about that.
If you think I'm too old for this fight, you need to come tell me in my face.
Whoa.
Douglas isn't holding back on what he expects. He sees Tyson, even now at 58, as a devastating force. Mike is going to be F-King relentless, Douglas says, emphasizing that Paul has never faced anything like the power, speed, and ferocity Tyson will bring. He's seen the training clips, watched Tyson sharpening his tools, and from what he can tell, the same animal spirit is alive in Tyson, even if he's decades older. He's looking pretty good, better than most of the heavyweights out there today, Douglas adds, pointing out that Tyson is still capable of handling himself like a pro. For Douglas, this means Jake Paul is in for a rude awakening. In Douglas's view, Jake has to go for broke right away if he wants any chance. He's not up against a typical 65-year-old man. This is the same Tyson who, even in his twilight years, is dangerous with every punch. Jake needs to go out immediately and bang, let him know there's something to look out for, Douglas advises, knowing that a passive approach will only play right into Tyson's hands. Otherwise, Douglas predicts it's going to be an open target season, with Mike unloading punches, taking full control, and likely enjoying every second of it. He even questions whether Paul could handle a body shot from Tyson. Mike's going to be throwing shots with no worry about what's coming back, Douglas says. He isn't concerned about Jake's punches because, in his words, why the F would Tyson be worried about Jake Paul?
Final thing, I presume that Mike Tyson is watching this right now. Is there anything you want to say to him?
Mike, I love you, but this is my sport now. It's an honor to get in the ring with you. I'm so honored you're a legend, but I'm gonna take your throne, brother.
There's a fundamental difference between me and Jake. He's a manufactured killer. Television and paper made him a killer. He's manufactured. I'm a natural-born killer. That's the difference.
Douglas's experience with Tyson's power gives him the confidence to predict a painful night for Jake Paul. Tyson's body shots, known to fold grown men in their prime, are something Douglas believes will unravel Jake quickly. He doubts Jake has the endurance or resilience to withstand a sustained assault. For Douglas, this isn't a close call. He sees Tyson dominating every round. In fact, he doubts Jake will even have a career left after the fight.
So this goes perfect. You go out there, you knock out Mike Tyson. Do you have a call out in mind? Or you don't have to necessarily say it on here, because I know sometimes that's a special event in itself. Is the winner, who they call out, what's next?
It's Canelo. I mean, me versus Canelo at 200 pounds for the cruiserweight championship of the world.
I don't think there will be much of a boxing career left for Paul afterwards, Douglas says. If Paul goes the distance, he believes that would be the best scenario Jake could hope for. Just going the distance would give Paul something to hold on to. A claim that he survived Tyson. But for Douglas, a full 12 rounds is a fantasy. Douglas also points to the 2-minute rounds, saying that it was a mistake for Paul since these shorter rounds will favor Tyson immensely.
Obviously, it would be the biggest moment in all of boxing history when I put this man to sleep.
He dreams a lot. This is not going to come true, young man.
In Douglas's mind, Tyson's explosive style, even at his age, will benefit from the quick burst of action in a 2-minute round. Those 2 minutes will pass quickly, he says, meaning Tyson can fire off with power and then catch his breath between rounds. This format allows Tyson to fight in his natural style, full of fury and intensity, without worrying about his age as much. For Jake, it's a worst-case scenario. He'll have to endure 2 minutes of Tyson's wild power every round, only to face it again and again with very little relief.
Nice. Come on, punch him. Yeah.
Douglas gives some practical advice to Paul, even though the advice he feels may be a bit hopeless. He tells Jake to keep his hands up and duck those haymakers because, as Douglas puts it, they're like rockets. According to Douglas, even at this old age, Mike's punch isn't your average one. Tyson's swings are still terrifying, and Douglas believes they'll intimidate Paul. Keep moving, Paul. Don't stand in front of him, Douglas warns, urging Jake not to make the mistake of getting caught in Tyson's line of fire. Standing still would be akin to standing on train tracks with the express train heading straight for him. He knows that if Jake doesn't respect Tyson's power, he'll end up on the canvas like so many before him.
So I think it's a great opportunity for both fighters, but I still think Mike probably going to be a little too much for Jake.
In Douglas's eyes, this fight isn't about Tyson being in his prime or needing to prove anything. He's already the legend, the feared brawler who shook the heavyweight division to its core. For Tyson, taking on Jake Paul, especially in his 50s, is almost like a formality. A fight Douglas predicts will be the easiest win of his career. Douglas laughs at the notion that this is some uphill battle for Tyson. He says at 58, this is a piece of cake. And his comments are not the only ones following the fight. Teddy Atlas, the renowned trainer who shaped a young Mike Tyson under Cus D'Amato's guidance, doesn't see Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson as just another fight. In fact, he's raising questions that cut to the very core of what's real, what's staged, and what's become a spectacle in boxing. For Atlas, the first question is it real?
You know, it's the circumstances are a little different. I'll tell you one thing. Early on, Jake better be alert the first couple rounds, because one thing that a former great fighter like Tyson could do is still punch. The power is the last thing to leave you. If Jake gets careless early on, if it's real, if there's not an agreement in place, I don't know. I don't know.
For a trainer who has spent his life in boxing, there's a level of skepticism that comes from years of experience, and Atlas isn't afraid to voice it. He wonders if this clash is simply an entertainment gimmick, or if Tyson and Paul have the real intention to battle with the authenticity and intensity boxing fans expect. Atlas has seen too many staged shows to take things at face value. If I am asked a question, then I'm going to say what I believe, he says, adding on the freak show atmosphere surrounding the fight. His hesitation isn't just about the age difference, it's about intent. Is there going to be an honest effort to go and knock the other guy out? He asks, not unreasonably. He knows that Tyson, even at 58, retains a portion of that raw power that once made him the most feared man on the planet. But he wonders if that will even come into play, or if this fight is more about filling seats than throwing punches. Atlas goes deeper into the reality of Tyson's physical skills. He emphasizes the last thing that goes is power. He points to examples like George Foreman, who returned to the ring later in life and still packed a devastating punch. Atlas believes Tyson has the muscle memory to land big shots, even if he's not the same fighter he once was. He doesn't doubt Tyson's ability to throw a knockout punch. He questions if Tyson wants to. As Atlas explains, if it is real and legit, I think the first 2 rounds could be really dangerous for Paul. He imagines Tyson going bang bang in those early rounds, and if that happens, Paul will be in deep trouble.
Jake Paul, he's on the way to like building a legitimate boxing career. He's having real fights.
Part of it is what it's been from the beginning, you know, trying to be the best fighter he can be and see where that takes him. At the same time, building a promotional company, maybe changing the sport a little bit in his mind.
But there's a flip side. For all his analysis on power and timing, Atlas also sees signs that Tyson's heart may no longer be in the game. Tyson is no longer the young explosive fighter he once trained. He's a different man now. Someone who has traded the brutal mindset of his youth for something more reserved, even gentle. You have to remember that Tyson isn't Tyson anymore, Atlas states. The ferocious, relentless mentality Tyson once carried has softened over time. He ain't the guy anymore who believes in that old attitude and behavior, Atlas says, suggesting Tyson has evolved beyond the violent mindset he once embodied. To Atlas, Tyson's transformation isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's a sign of maturity and growth. But for this fight, it changes everything. Tyson's current outlook doesn't bring the urgency or edge that boxing fans remember. Atlas sees Tyson as a lion who's lost his claws. If this were the Tyson of old, with the ruthless desire to dominate, Atlas would back him to win, even against someone decades younger. But today's Tyson, he's not the same baddest man on the planet. In Atlas's words, his legacy is secured, it's done.
I don't know if he's in his prime. He's fat.
I'm not fat.
He's super lean and mean. He's fat and funky.
He's heavyweight. Fuck you, Mike.
Did you start training already?
This isn't a man with something to prove, but rather someone whose ferocity has mellowed over the years. That's why Atlas can't help but worry that this fight may turn out to be more show than substance. He remembers seeing Tyson playfully tickling Jake Paul at the press conference, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was all a setup. I have never seen anything like that, Atlas says, suggesting that if he had, it would have been in a WWF-style event, not a boxing ring. For Atlas, that moment was emblematic of how the line between sport and spectacle has blurred in this fight. He describes it as the kind of show that audiences might watch out of morbid curiosity, not to witness a real contest. Adding to his doubts, Atlas points out the history between Tyson and Paul. 2 years ago, they were discussing this fight on podcasts, laughing and maintaining a friendly relationship. That's not exactly the type of animosity you'd expect in a serious bout. For Atlas, this familiarity takes away from the authenticity. I have to look at that, he says, drawing a comparison to buying a car from a slick salesman. He wants to see if there's actually an engine in this thing. In his mind, boxing is meant to be raw, real, and unfiltered. When fighters step into the ring, he believes it should be a collision of wills, not a handshake agreement dressed up as competition.
Day 2, we're getting ready for you.
And then there's Tyson's age. Atlas knows better than most that time takes its toll even on legends. Tyson might still have power, but at 58, his stamina, speed, and reflexes aren't what they used to be. Atlas questions whether the appeal of this fight is more about the past than the present. People want to see Tyson, even if he's only a shadow of his former self. He worries Tyson might be reduced to a struggling circus act, who no longer carries the bite that made him a legend. That's not the Tyson Atlas remembers, nor the one he wants the world to see. Yet, Atlas also understands why this fight is happening. Tyson remains a mystery, a man who once inspired fear and still draws crowds. And Jake Paul, for all his controversy, represents a new era of spectacle-driven boxing. This pairing is exactly what Netflix, promoters, and some fans are eager for. A show that's part nostalgia, part novelty, and all about intrigue. Tyson's unpredictability still hovers in the air. It has the components and elements of a younger guy trying to prove he is a fighter against the former great fighter who remains an enigma. Atlas concludes.
He's trying to take the food off my plate, I'm trying to take the food off of his plate, and that's what warriors do. But for me, I've dreamt this, manifested it, and it'll be the start of, what has been a 12-year career for me in entertainment and acting and working and all the things I've done now into boxing, this is finally my moment and my time to shine. And I'm gonna show the world who the fuck I am, because everyone's doubted me. Everyone's had something to say.
In the days leading up to his showdown with Jake Paul, Mike Tyson isn't letting age be the defining factor in his return to the ring. The 58-year-old former heavyweight champion, who once terrorized opponents with sheer ferocity, now confronts questions about age, durability, and whether he can still deliver at a high level. But Tyson is unwavering in his response. Age might have claimed his youth, but it hasn't tamed his fighting spirit. He's got a message for those who doubt him and for Jake Paul himself. He's no ordinary man. He's a different species. Training for this fight, he says, feels like old times, with the only difference being his recovery needs. I just need more massages than normal, Tyson laughs, as if the idea of a little extra TLC could ever dull the baddest man on the planet. He's quick to remind everyone that while Paul may be younger, youth alone isn't a shield against his raw power. Tyson respects that Paul has committed himself to boxing, but he's blunt in his assessment. He's still not on my level. For Tyson, this fight isn't just about proving he still has what it takes. It's about reminding the world what Iron Mike can do. His warning to Paul is laced with a touch of that old menace. Don't run like a thief. He's calling Paul out to meet him head-on in the ring, to stand and trade punches without hesitation. The message is clear. Tyson wants this to be a battle, not a game of cat and mouse. He's daring Paul to stay in the pocket, to prove he can withstand the relentless pressure Tyson is known for.
I love Mike Tyson, love Jake. Jake's my boy. I hope it fucking crushes. But for the life of me, I cannot figure out the upside to this. Let's go through the scenario here. If you're Jake, so you knock him out. Horrible, dude. What the fuck? You just beat up an old man. You get knocked out. They told you this guy's a joke. You get beat up by a 58-year-old. The third scenario here is it goes to decision. That's a disaster and nobody's coming back. That's a disaster business-wise for Netflix. It's a disaster for Jake Paul. What? They went to decision with 58-year-old Mike Tyson. The only person who wins is not Netflix, not Jake Paul. Mike Tyson wins.
But Tyson doesn't stop at subtle hints or veiled threats. When Fox 4 asked him about his game plan, he didn't mince words. My intention is to hurt this young man. There's no ambiguity in his tone. Tyson is entering that ring with the singular aim of teaching Paul a brutal lesson. He isn't interested in merely outboxing the YouTuber turned fighter. He's aiming for something primal. The promise of hurt hangs over the fight, a reminder that even at 58, Tyson can still be a dangerous, unpredictable force. For Tyson, this isn't an exhibition. It's a fight, and he wants to leave his mark.
We got the original Mike Tyson game, Punch Out. This is the fight simulation. This is how the fight's gonna go. Me versus Mike Tyson. Here we go. Number 15, baby. Punch. Yeah, baby. Oh, doc. First round, knockout.
As the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation steps in with rules and conditions for the fight, it's clear the regulators are aware of the stakes involved. They've sanctioned the match as a professional bout, but with specific waivers and conditions to keep things safe. The fight won't go beyond 8 rounds, with each round limited to 2 minutes. Tyson and Paul will also wear 14-ounce gloves, which offer more padding than the standard 10-ounce gloves. For Tyson, these adjustments mean little. A 2-minute round is more than enough time for him to unload his power, and he's confident that if Paul tries to go the distance, he'll face punishment every second he stands before Tyson. Tyson's preparation for Paul might seem focused and fierce, but in classic Tyson fashion, his appetite for a fight goes beyond just one opponent. Just when fans thought this could be his last dance, Tyson has his eyes on another target, Eric Esch, better known as Butterbean. In the heavyweight world, a clash between Tyson and Butterbean has long been whispered about as an intriguing matchup. The two fighters share reputations as powerhouses, with a combined history of knockouts that could fill an entire highlight reel. Although Butterbean turned down the idea of a fight with Tyson back in 2020, citing his age and family commitments, the specter of the matchup still looms. Butterbean, now retired with 9 grandchildren, had expressed back then that he was enjoying his post-fight life. Yet, his words didn't lack a bit of bravado. In an interview, he famously remarked, "I saw Mike about 3 weeks ago and he looked pregnant. I would knock him out." Butterbean never misses a beat, reminding fans and Tyson alike that he's still itching for a fight, particularly with Jake Paul.
As soon as I catch this guy, he's gonna be running around. As soon as I catch this guy, it's gonna be totally over.
Not only did he throw a $2 million winner-takes-all challenge at Paul, but he also followed up with videos on social media, pounding a heavy bag and taunting, "Jake Paul, what are you waiting on?" In Tyson's world, these challenges only add fuel to the fire. His response is simple: bring it on. Tyson isn't planning on retreating from the sport anytime soon, and the mere idea of adding Butterbean to his fight roster seems only to solidify that he's as unpredictable and combative as ever. Facing Paul may be his immediate task, but Tyson's heart beats for the thrill of combat itself. This isn't just a comeback. It's a reminder of the relentless spirit that defined his career.
Hey, yeah, they're gonna fight. Do you think Jake Paul can beat Mike Tyson?
As fight night nears, Tyson's training videos show glimpses of his power and technique. Though older, he hasn't lost the signature head movement and devastating punches that terrorize the heavyweight division. Observers can see flashes of the Tyson of old, the one who bulldozed opponents and left them scrambling for safety. For Tyson, the path to the ring isn't about reclaiming former glory. It's about proving that his legacy is still alive, that the baddest man on the planet is still just beneath the surface.
You don't think Tyson is a serious opponent for him?
Come on. 61 years. I saw him the other day. I love Tyson. I told him
he can punch.
Of course. He's got a puncher's chance the first 3 rounds. I'm a little scared of Tyson getting hurt after the.
But will he be able to match Jake's youth? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates. See you in the next one.